The aftermath of episode 181 leaves Osman Bey at a critical juncture. With the Byzantines and Mongol-backed traders tightening their grip, his next moves must balance aggression with diplomacy. One key thread to watch is the fragile alliance between the Kei tribe and neighboring Turkmen Beylik. Could the betrayal of a minor character, like a seemingly loyal ally, fracture this unity? For instance, Dunduz Bey's growing skepticism of Osman's leadership might resurface, especially if external forces manipulate his doubt. The Byzantines have consistently exploited internal division, and episode 182 could see them offering false promises to weaker Beylik, tempting them to abandon Osman. A scene highlighting clandestine meetings between Byzantine agents and disgruntled Turkic leaders would align with the show's theme of unity against chaos. Meanwhile, Malhun Hatton's role as a strategist may expand. Will she uncover a critical piece of intelligence about the enemy's plan, or could her past connections to certain Beylik create tension with Bala Hatton? Historical context suggests that Osman's real strength lay in consolidating fractured groups. The show often mirrors this, so episode 182 might feature a symbolic moment, perhaps a reluctant Bey swearing allegiance to Osman after a narrowly avoided disaster. Look for subtle cues in dialogue. Phrases like, "Our strength is not in our sword, but in our bond," could foreshadow sacrifices ahead. What to watch for? A key ally's loyalty being tested, possibly Baran or Turgut. Byzantine agents disguised as traders or refugees infiltrating the Kei camp. A flashback tying Osman's current struggles to his father Erdrul's lesson. Every battle in Kurulus Osman is as much about intrigue as it is about combat. The Mongol commander, Bayender, and the Byzantine villain, Cantacuzino, have yet to unleash their full strategy. Bayender's cold, calculating approach contrasts with Cantacuzino's brute force, and their uneasy alliance could crack under pressure. Will one betray the other to claim sole victory over Osman? Cantacuzino's might deploy a psychological weapon, targeting Osman's family. An abduction attempt on one of his sons, especially Orhan, would raise the emotional stake. Alternatively, Bayender could exploit Osman's mercy, for instance, by using prisoners as human shields during a battle. The show has never shied away from moral dilemma, and Osman's choice between saving innocents or securing a tactical advantage would test his resolve. Meanwhile, Valide Sultan's shadowy influence cannot be ignored. Her scenes often hint at larger power plays within the Mongol hierarchy. Could she secretly undermine Bayender to install a puppet commander? Her interactions with Gonkahat, a character torn between loyalty and survival, might reveal clues. Osman Bey's leadership is not just tested on the battlefield, but also within his own household. Bala Hatton and Malhun Hatton's dynamic has always been a cornerstone of the show, blending rivalry with mutual respect. In episode 182, their differing approaches to governance could collide. Bala, rooted in spiritual wisdom, might advocate for caution, while Malhun, ever the pragmatist, pushes for preemptive strike. A heated debate between them could symbolize the broader struggle between tradition and adaptation. Orhan's role is another focal point. As Osman's heir, he's been groomed for leadership, but episode 182 might force him into a trial by fire. Imagine a scenario where Orhan disobeys Osman's orders to prove his worth, only to walk into a trap. This would mirror Osman's own rebellious youth while raising questions about legacy. Can Orhan escape his father's shadow, or will his impulsiveness endanger the tribe? Don't overlook the emotional undercurrent. Iansa's fate, for instance, remains unresolved. If she reappeared, her knowledge of Mongol tactics could sway the war, but her loyalty is suspect. Similarly, Gaki Hatton's grief over her losses might drive her to reckless action, such as infiltrating enemy lines alone. The show thrives on these personal stakes, and episode 182 could use them to humanize the larger conflict. Kurulus Osman has always intertwined faith with politics, and episode 182 could deepen this theme. The Byzantine-Mongol alliance might target the Kei's spiritual symbols to demoralize them. For example, destroying the tribe's mosque or desecrating graves would not only be a tactical blow, but a psychological one. How Osman responds, whether through restraint or retaliation, would define his moral authority. Dream sequences have been pivotal in this series, often foreshadowing triumph or tragedy. A nightmare involving Dundar Bey or Saidsad Yamak could hint at unresolved guilt or looming threat. Alternatively, Osman might receive a vision of his father, Ertugrul, urging him to trust the wolves of the valley, a metaphor for hidden ally. Discussion question: are spiritual elements like dreams and omens narrative strengths or distractions in this show? Could they predict a major character's death? Religious figures like Ibn Arabi or Dervish Ahmed might also return, offering cryptic guidance. Their dialogues often carry double meaning. A line like, "The storm reveals the roots of the tree," retreat could foreshadow traitors being exposed during the battle. Meanwhile, the concept of divine legitimacy might resurface, with Osman's rivals questioning his right to lead. Episode 182 will likely balance intense buildup with quieter character moments. Scouts reporting enemy movement, blacksmiths forging weapons, and war councils debating tactics will create a palpable sense of dread. Pay attention to Osman's demeanor. Is he calm and resolute, or does he show rare flashes of doubt? A scene of him alone in his tent, staring at a map, could speak volumes. The battle itself may not erupt until the episode's final minute, but skirmishes will tease at gale. A Mongol cavalry raid on a supply caravan, or a Byzantine assassination attempt on a key ally, like Bomsi or Turgut, would raise tension. The show's directors excel at choreographing chaos, so expect long takes of horseback clashes and siege preparation. Finally, episode 182 might end with a cliffhanger. Osman surrounded, outnumbered, or facing an unexpected foe. Alternatively, a last-minute reinforcement, such as the arrival of Sagat's forces or a reformed antagonist like Nicola, could flip the script. Either way, the episode will cement the stakes for Season 5. What to watch for? A haunting shot of the battlefield at dusk, silent but for the clinking of armor. A betrayal from someone Osman considered an ally, possibly a babe from episode 181's negotiation. A final line of dialogue that becomes a rallying cry. This is not a war for land, it's a war for existence. While Bander and Cantacuzinos are formidable, their flaws are ripe for exploitation. Bander's arrogance as a Mongol commander might blind him to dissent within his rank. For example, a sub-commander resentful of his brutality could leak plans to Osman. Cantacuzino, on the other hand, relies heavily on mercenaries whose loyalty is bought, not earned. A scene where his soldiers grumble about unpaid wages could hint at future mutiny. Balad Sultan's schemes might also backfire. If she undermines Bander, she could inadvertently empower a more ruthless Mongol leader, escalating the threat. Ayansa's return could add moral complexity. If she defects to the KE, her knowledge of Mongol tactics would be invaluable, but her past crime, e.g., spying for the Mongols, would make her a pariah. Imagine a scene where she saves Malhan Hatton from an assassination attempt, forcing Osman to weigh gratitude against justice. This could tie into the theme of forgiveness. Does the tribe's survival justify pardoning a traitor? Similarly, Gaki Hatton's grief might lead her to bond with Ayansa, seeing her as a fellow outsider. The destruction of spiritual symbols wouldn't just demoralize the KE, it could galvanize them. Historically, Turkic warriors viewed such acts as sacrilege, fueling fiercer resistance. Episode 182 might show Osman responding by publicly renewing his oath to protect their faith, perhaps by leading a prayer before battle. Meanwhile, Ibn Arabi's return could bring a warning. A kingdom built on blood cannot endure. This might force Osman to reflect on whether his wars align with his spiritual ideal or risk corrupting his mission. The build-up to battle should highlight ordinary tribe members, craftsmen, mothers, children, to emphasize what's at stake. A scene of a blacksmith's son begging to join the fight, only to be gently refused by Osman, would humanize the war's toll. Similarly, Bala Hatton organizing women to treat the wounded could showcase resilience beyond the battlefield. The episode might also tease logistical challenges, food shortages, injured horses, or a rainstorm muddying the terrain, complicating Osman's plan.